we are joined now by Bernie Moreno, who is probably fired up about the Ohio State Buckeyes, and certainly, I bet, is fired up about the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, both returning to the gridiron this week as the NFL is returning to action. But Bernie, I want to lead in with this aspect of things. Everyone in Ohio who is listening to me right now, and at some point this season, we have been number one in Columbus, we have been number one in Cincinnati, and we have been number one in Cleveland. So every major media market in Ohio, you guys love this show. We love you. And in Ohio, you don't just have the opportunity to cheer for the Buckeyes, the Browns, and the Bengals. You have the opportunity to deliver the United States Senate to the Republican Party by voting for the man who is on with us right now, Bernie Moreno. It's a big election in Ohio, but it's also a big election in the nation. Ohio has the opportunity to flip the Senate to control of Republican Party hands. And Bernie, I bet you're seeing some good numbers out there as we sit 62 days from Election Day.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me again on your show. I love being on. And let me just reinforce that on November 5th, our polls close at 7:30 p.m. And I'm hoping within an hour of that period of time, you'll see Brett Baer, because nobody's going to be watching CNN, we'll be watching Fox News, comes up and says, we can now say that the Republicans control the United States Senate because Bernie Moreno defeated career politician Sherrod Brown. So the entire world will breathe a little collective sigh of relief knowing that we at least got the Senate in our hands.
Hey, Bernie, it's Buck. Appreciate you being with us. Just let everybody know. I mean, I'll set the stage here for 1 second. When we were out in Wisconsin for the RNC and talking to some Wisconsin Republicans, and they also brought Michigan into the conversation, talked to some Michigan Republicans, they said that the way that Democrats win in those states is essentially pretending they're not Democrats when they're talking to Wisconsinites or Michiganders, and then going along with whatever Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi, et cetera, wants, right? I mean, what is the is it a similar dynamic in Ohio with Brown? I mean, how is it? Because Ohio is pretty solid red, right? Why is it competitive there?
Well, I'll simplify it from that. They're bold-faced liars. So Sherrod Brown would just lie and lie and lie on TV commercials. The media, of course, goes along with it. And he gets reelected, and then he goes to Washington, D.C. for 5 years, acts like crazy Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren combined, and votes in the most radical left-wing way, and then comes back to Ohio and says, remember me? I'm the moderate. I'm the bipartisan guy. I want a secure border. I want energy independence. These guys cannot run on the policies that they actually vote for because they would lose 70-30. So they have to spend a year with the media's help lying to the people of Ohio. We're not going to let them get away with it this cycle. We're going to make certain that we expose him for the radical leftist that he is. By the way, this is a guy who went to college when Richard Nixon was in the White House, by the way, and majored in Russian studies. So he knows a thing or two about socialists and lying.
Bernie, if you look at the state of Ohio, we know that statewide you want as many people voting as possible. But is there a particular area of Ohio that to you in this Senate race is the swing area? If you win that area, you know that you will be the next senator from Ohio. Where in particular is the area that decides this race?
Probably Northeast Ohio, because Cuyahoga County is the biggest county in Ohio in terms of population. There's a lot of Republican voters up here, but a lot more Democrats. So in the previous cycle, in 2018, Sherrod Brown was able to win that county by 50 points. We won't let him get anywhere near that number. I employed thousands of people here. My companies were rated the best place to work in Northeast Ohio. I had 12 dealerships up here. My tech company's here. This is where I live. Most people don't see Sherrod Brown as a guy who's more of a creature of D.C., except, of course, again, during election cycle. So I think we'll be very competitive in Cuyahoga. In the Mahoning Valley, places like Youngstown, where you've seen thousands, tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs leave the area under his watch. We saw a plant there in Lordstown that got closed under Sherrod Brown's watch. We've seen our steel industry decline under Sherrod Brown's watch. They're sick and tired of the empty promises of these career politicians that know what to say to get elected, but then do totally different things when they're in office. So that Northeast Ohio corridor is really important.
How do you think? I mean, I think one aspect of your race that is going to get a lot of attention, or is getting a lot of attention, is not only possible Senate control, but also Ohio with J.D. Vance as the VP on the ticket, and then Tim Walz, Minnesota, the middle of the country battle, like the battle for those middle of the road, middle of the country voters that will play out in Ohio, Pennsylvania, really Western Pennsylvania mostly, and then Michigan, Wisconsin. I mean, what are the core issues, and what do you think the deciding factor will be for that swath of the electorate that is likely to determine your race as well as the presidential election?
Well, let me just say Tim Walz is not somebody who represents Midwest values at all. So let's take him out of the equation. But the reason these states matter so much is because this is the core issue of this race. Look, in 1949, 6 of the wealthiest 14 cities in the United States of America were in Ohio. The wealthiest city in the country was Detroit, Michigan. Why? Because we made things here in America. You could go to high school, go to work right away, and live a good upper middle class or middle class life where you can afford a home, afford a car, raise kids in this good community with good schools. And elected leaders, let's just face it, from both parties for 20 or 30 or 40 years, destroyed that version of the American dream, shipped our jobs to China and Mexico. And we're going to get that back. We're going to get energy dominance back here. We're going to make things that we can make here in America. We're going to support this idea of a strong, vibrant middle class. This is what our party is now fully centered on doing. Give huge credit to President Trump for reorienting the party in that way.
Yesterday, I was in West Virginia. West Virginia is going to vote to put a Republican in the Senate. Joe Manchin is on his way out. We know that in Ohio, which is going to be a red state, President Trump is going to win it. In Montana, which is going to be a red state, President Trump is going to win it. 2 potential seats to flip. They are spending money like crazy against you. But I saw Guy Benson put up a poll internally that shows you leading right now in Ohio. Are you comfortable with how this race is going right now? Do you have enough money? What would you tell our audience out there? Again, number 1 in Columbus, number 1 in Cincinnati, number 1 in Cleveland, have the ability to deliver this state for you that you need from them down the stretch run here.
You can't vote for President Trump and Sherrod Brown. Because if you give President Trump Sherrod Brown, what's he going to do? He's probably going to make it so that Chuck Schumer is the majority leader. It means they're going to impeach him again. They'll block every one of his agenda items. They'll not allow him to put the proper people in the cabinet. So if you're out there and you're going to support President Trump, you like President Trump's policies, you got to vote for Bernie Moreno for the United States Senate. That's message number 1. In terms of message number 2, we feel really good about where we stand in the polls. That 1% plus that you talked about was before our advertising campaign. And let me just say it this way. We opened a can of whoop ass on him on TV about a week and a half ago. So we're going to actually have more messaging on TV than Sherrod Brown will have. We're not, unlike him, we're not going to make it about personal attacks and personal insults. That's all he's got on me. We're going to make it about his voting record, his track record, and the fact that he's overstayed his welcome. 50 years as an elected official, never having had a job in the private sector is way too long. We're going to get rid of him. We're going to retire him. We're going to win. But everybody out there, know this. You can vote on October 8th. Please go vote early. It allows us to know who's voted, who's not. It saves us a ton of money. And by the way, if you never want to get another text message or email from me, then go vote early. We'll stop communicating with you, I promise.
I'm just wondering, one area where there's clearly going to be some real political impact in this cycle is on the illegal immigration crisis. It is hilarious, Bernie. I'm sure you've seen this. I know you're very busy, but if you turn on some of the national Democrat media, they're like, oh, my gosh, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are just shocked at all the illegals that have come in recent years, and they're working so hard to stop it. Where's your opponent, Sherrod Brown, on this?
Well, first of all, I'm a legal immigrant to this country. I find it disgusting that this country keeps rewarding people who skip the line, break our rules, refuse to learn the language, don't assimilate, and are here to have handouts. That's totally against what immigration is supposed to be in this country. Whereas Sherrod Brown has voted against every single border measure that President Trump put forward. He said the wall was stupid, the wall was racist. He said that there is no problem at the border, that is a made-up right-wing conspiracy theory. How many times have we heard those words? Now, of course, he hides behind this supposed bipartisan bill, which would have allowed 5,000 illegal crossings a day, so almost 1.5 million people to break our laws and break into our home, which is exactly 1.5 million too many. We should have a zero tolerance policy for illegal immigration. And by the way, Sherrod Brown and Kamala Harris believe that the people who did break into our country that are here illegally should be allowed to be United States citizens. I think we got to deport them if they're in this country illegally, because again, that's common sense. If I broke into your home, you wouldn't allow me to stay, and you certainly wouldn't let me take better care of me than the people who live in your home. So this is common sense. The Democrats like to make this about being xenophobic and racist. I can tell you as a legal immigrant, to every American citizen listening to this who was born here, stop rewarding people who break our immigration laws to come here. It's infuriating for us that had to follow the process to watch America do that. It's going to stop next year.
How are you looking with the Latino community in your home state, Bernie? And also, how do you think Trump's going to do nationally with the Latino vote?
Yo creo que el presidente Trump la da muy bien en el país con los hispanos. En Ohio vamos a ganar la primera vez que gane un republicano en Ohio el voto hispano.
Sounds good to me.
That's great, Bernie. Bernie,
we're going to win the Hispanic vote. We're going to win the Hispanic vote because, look, Hispanics care about family. They care about community. We've seen what happened in Venezuela. And let me just tell you something. Again, for Americans that inherited this country through birth, whether it's your father, grandfather, great-grandfather, or whatever, do not allow these leftist lunatics to turn this country into Venezuela. Please, I'm pleading with you. My family came here for the America that we understand to be the country. This country can easily turn into Venezuela. This election, you put Kamala Harris and Tim Walz with a Democrat majority in the Senate and the House, one generation, this country becomes Venezuela.
Bernie, couple of things here. I think that you just hammered home that are significant. I want you to hammer them home again. One, the importance of going out and voting early. We are telling everybody in this audience, get your vote in. Buck and I are both going to go vote early, but I want you to lay out specifically how that can help in Ohio. Second thing, you said you cannot have split voters. People can't vote Trump, which they're going to do by 10, and also vote for Sherrod Brown. Brown called Trump a racist. He said Trump's a racist. Now he's trying to say, oh, I'll work with Trump. If you are voting Trump, you have to vote Moreno, and you need to go vote early. But explain again in detail why that can help you so much at being able to win and flip control of the Senate.
Absolutely. So if you think about the last 4 weeks of this election like a football game, it's 4 quarters. It's 4 weeks of early voting. So we don't know how people voted, but we know that they're Republican inclined to vote. So if we see that people are voting early, we don't have to chase you. We don't have to send you emails or text messages. We don't have to go knock on your door. We know that one county is doing well, but another county is not. So we can put resources, and we can end each quarter saying, okay, for the first week of early voting, what's the score? Then the second week, the third week, and the final week. If we don't have people, Republicans, go out there and vote early in mass, then we have to communicate with the entire population of voters consistently for 4 weeks, and it's very, very expensive. So it allows us to shift our resources. Look, can you imagine playing a football game and you couldn't watch the score until the game was over? I mean, that's insane. So we have to make certain that people go out there and vote early. It's very easy to do it in Ohio. And on top of that, you never know what's going to happen November 5th, by the way. We could have a snowstorm. We could have a blizzard. We could have a power outage. We don't know. Bank that vote. Get it done. This is the easiest election to do that because it's not confusing. You are not confused out there if you're thinking that you're going to vote for President Trump or Kamala Harris, because that's not a hard decision. And like you just said earlier, look, Sherrod Brown, we don't have to wonder what he will do. We just look at what he did. When he was in office as a senator from Ohio, President Trump was in the White House, he fought President Trump at every step of the way and every major vote that mattered. Let's not let him do that again.
Amen. Bernie Moreno, next senator from the state of Ohio. He's going to flip control to the Republican Party. Bernie, we appreciate the time. Keep the sprint going, my man.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
Look, running for Senate takes a lot of energy. Bernie's on with us right now. He's going to be all over the state of Ohio, helping to ensure that he flips control of the United States Senate back to the Republican Party. Maybe you're sitting there on Wednesday and you're like, man, I don't have the energy that I thought I did. I was out last night, Timcast, till 1:30 in the morning. Got up early this morning, did an interview on George Washington's campus, doing this show, did Outkick the show. I'm leaving straight from here, hopping on an airplane to fly all the way to L.A. Minute I land in L.A., I'm going out to dinner. All of that takes a lot of energy. You know, a lot of people out there need some energy in their life, and Chalk has got it. Now, not the kind of guy to brag or draw attention to myself, but I did rep out 10 185s on video last week. And you know what? Takes a little bit of energy to be able to knock out 10 185s. Maybe Chalk could make a difference for you. It'll increase your all-natural male testosterone by 20% over 3 months. And that can make a big difference for you when it comes to the energy that you have to go about the day-to-day activities that you need to do. Kids are back in school. It's Labor Day. Maybe your grandkids are back in school. Maybe sometimes you help as a grandparent get up in the morning, get your kids to school. Aunts, uncles, we know that raising kids is a family business. And so, as a result, how about some Chalk in your life? CHOQ.com. Set a new bench press max. Set an unbelievable standard for yourself in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever age you may be. Put some all-natural Chalk back in your life. You can also call if you got questions. You can tell them Clay sent you. 50-CHALK-3000. That's 50-CHALK-3000. You can also check out their website, CHOQ.com. My name, Clay. Best possible subscription value for life. Do it today, Chalk.com, 50-CHALK-3000.